Hello, 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 and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jameelah, and I am a master manifester, and I'm sure you are too because you are consuming content like this. The name of this channel is Holistic Manifesting because I believe in the whole body, whole mind, and whole being experience when it comes to manifesting these amazing lives that we are choosing. What I am discussing in this video is the power of letting go. And when I say let go, I'm going to talk about not just the idea of why it's so important for you. I think everybody knows that, right? Say like you have a situation in your life, you have some issues happening, something that a problem you may call it that you need to solve, and there's a constant desire for you to try to fix it, try to fix it, try to fix it, try to fix it. But because sometimes like that whole make it happen thing does not fix our problems in our lives, right? We find ourselves right at square one with everything that we were trying. And that's not to say you shouldn't try, you shouldn't do things, but always make sure it's coming from a place of intention, like you are doing intentional approaches to it. You're not just like banging at everything to try to see what'll work. You're actually taking time to say, hey, this is working for me, this is not working for me, let me see if I can look at it this way or whatever. So when that happens and you find yourself back at the position to where you realize you may not have full control over the outcome of it, one of the hardest things for us to do is to let go. One of the hardest things for us to do is to let go of the problem and not internalize it as our own and as a problem that is something that we need to lose sleep over, that we need to not eat over, that we need to stop living our lives over and like shut ourselves in for. And I'm guilty of this too. I've had many times in my life to where I've had problems that felt like they were so big at different moments. And all I wanted to do was just shut myself away and stop living. And I don't mean stop living in the deeper sense of it. I mean like just stop participating in society. I was like, I can't be anything until this thing is solved. I can't live my life until this thing is solved. And what I didn't realize at those moments in those times, or either I did realize, and sometimes we just need to remember. So that's what I'm hoping videos like this, like when I make this type of content, that is helping someone remember the power that they have in these situations, because it can feel very powerless to not know what's going to happen next and to not know how to solve an issue in your life. So the power you have in it, when you've tried all you can try, and when you've done all you can done, and I know a lot of people are familiar with those type of phrases, you can let go. And let go feels like you're giving up on solving the problem. And contrary to popular belief, it's okay to give up on trying to solve certain problems, especially when you've done all you can do in the power that you have with the right intention and the right mindset, and without hurting anyone. You've checked out all the nooks and crannies. So literally all you're doing is waiting for that issue to work itself out. But in the meanwhile, you're holding on to anxiety, you're holding on to stress, you're holding on to powerlessness, you're holding on to being unhappy, you're holding on to being stuck in whatever lifestyle you created for yourself that's not necessarily healthy. And when you've done that, you're essentially creating long-term impacts on your being, your experience in life, as opposed to letting it go and have a positive long-term, as opposed to those negative long-term outcomes, right? I've watched people in my life hold on to worry and pain and fear like constantly. And what I notice in taking a record of their experience and their journey is like none of that, what they were doing, ever solved a problem in their life. It didn't make anything better. It didn't improve any outcomes. And so one of the biggest goals I've always had was, because I'm a holistic manifester, I believe in a whole body, whole being, like your whole entire life, everything you have access to, everything that you are creating, co-creating on a regular basis. I believe in the power of letting it go when you've gotten past the point of doing what you feel you needed to do. And what people don't understand is when you decide to let something go, it doesn't mean that you're giving up on yourself. It doesn't mean that you're giving up on other people who may be involved in this process. It doesn't mean that you're giving up on the idea that you can make things happen in your life. We all know that we can do that, right? But there are certain problems and issues that show up, and they're like fine tuning you. They're like wringing out all of the things that won't work for you for the next level that you are approaching in life, right? And so when you have those moments to where those issues show up and they don't get knocked out like they normally do. They're not easily solvable like they were normally easily solvable. They're not easy fixes like the last thing was an easy fix. That means it's requiring a new version of you, a new version of your faith, a new version of your belief, your new version of your understanding how to co-create and how the creator actually works, and how source energy is always available in your life, and how the tool, the universe, is making all these things get in order for you. It requires a new level of who you are. And so that's one of the biggest things that I've noticed in my life. If I have a problem or something like that, where I feel like I've been trying to solve it and it's just not being solved in the way that I know. Either I'll try to go get some new information, and that's always useful, or either I'll try to create something to try to, solve that problem. But see, this is the thing. When we're taking approaches like creating, seeking new information, that's also a version of letting go of the old version of who we are. Because we've decided that I've done all I know how to do. And so whatever this problem is, it's going to take another level of me. It's going to take a new version of me. And since I can't solve it by pounding it, out like I normally do with so many of my issues, that new level that you're seeking, that new information, that is a lot of what you're co-creating is all about. Because many times we're not going to go find that information on our own. We're only going to go find that new information when the old ways that we've been doing things is no longer working for us. And so a part of that process is letting go of what you can't control in those spaces, and then allowing yourself to be in the space for new ideas, in the space for receiving the solutions, in the space for receiving the best outcome or the best way to maneuver in whatever issues you may be dealing with, right? And what we don't understand truly when it comes to like letting go of the solving of it, like the immediacy, the instant gratification of solving the issue, how peaceful and joyful it is to release. How peaceful and joyful it is to let go. Because letting go feels so daunting on one side, but when you actually do, you realize I'm still here. Everything's still working out the way it's going to work out. I can still find peace. I can still enjoy my life. I can still be me. I was watching another creator, and she does financial information. And normally I don't always click on those videos because a lot of it sometimes invest here, do this and all that. And it's like fine, but it's just not always information that I take in so easily there, right? And it always makes it seem like you can, do this overnight. And, that's a lot of times the conversation. But when I clicked on her for a reason, because it was the opposite of that kind of video. She was talking about debt, and she was talking about her student debt and, her husband's debt. And she was just talking about in general how she had made debt this big old albatross around her neck. Even though she was able to make the regular monthly payments on it and she was able to live her life, she had completely stopped herself from living because she was like, this debt is a problem that needs to be solved. I hate it. I hate that it even exists. And so because of that, I'm just going to shut off all the other parts of my life and hyper focus on this debt and how I can't pay it off fast enough. And she said that something that switched her mind was like being on a vacation or a trip or something like that. And she was talking to some other people that she met on vacation and talking to other people at the resort. And she realized that people that she was coming in contact with had debt. And they weren't ashamed or afraid of their debt. They just felt like that debt was a part of their life. And they said they've had many moments where they had no debt, then they had a lot of debt, then they had no debt, then they had a lot of debt. And it came, it ebbed and flowed. And she said, one of the ladies was like, but I never stopped living. She was like, if you think all these people out here on these boats, on these, jet skis, at this restaurant, at these shows, doing these things, at this poolside, are debt free, she said, you have another thing coming. She was like, they're not, but they've managed a way to live alongside of something that at any given time in their life became a necessary evil or whatever, a necessary process to move forward in life. And she made a comment saying that we act like debt is going to jump out of the screen and like choke us and kill us, when it's really just numbers on a page, something that needs to be taken care of. And when it's workable, it will be taken care of, right? And so she was talking about how it was one of the biggest relief that she ever had in her life was just letting go of the idea that she was supposed to be debt free her whole entire life. Because, she was talking about times where medical bills popped up and she couldn't avoid that at different times, where mortgages, increased for different reasons and that wasn't always avoidable, where a student loans increased for different reasons and that wasn't always avoidable, where a car broke down and you needed one in order to get to the work, to get the new car or whatever like that, and that wasn't avoidable. A new debt came from that. And so she was like, no matter how much I've ever tried, I keep finding where there's always going to be some debt hanging around. And so she was like, letting go of that process, letting go of the idea that she was supposed to find perfection there, truly changed her life in a meaningful way. And what it really, really did is put her back into alignment with the truest version of herself. And so then she said within the next year, most of that debt that she was talking about was just about paid off between her and her husband, because they were no longer hopped up on and feeling tight and creating that negative, stagnant energy of, I have to solve this problem today. This has to be fixed because I can't live a life where there's any problems hanging around that I can't fix. And we got to know that that's pretty delusional. It's delusional to think that we can live a life to where every little relationship is working, every little thing career-wise is working, our children are acting perfectly, all these things are everything that we want it to be. And it just doesn't work like that. So it was just a breath of fresh air to kind of hear this and know that it was confirmation from my own spirit, from my own experience. It was confirmation from my own journey that letting go can be the most refreshing way of experiencing life that we'll never understand. And a lot of times when we let go, the way we wanted that thing to go, it goes in that direction anyway, because we're no longer creating all this resistance related to it. When I was just saying that, the best thing I can think of is laying back in the pool, because I've mentioned this before. I didn't learn how to swim till I was like in my early 30s, when I wanted to take my daughters to the pool. And I was like, you got to get over some of this fear and put your head under that water and do the thing, and they know how to swim. And you can't have your little bitty kids knowing how to swim and then something goes wrong and then you're at the pool and you can't get them out. All these things I was running through my head. And I learned how to float for the first time in an adult swim class. And he was just like, your body's still too tense. It's like, he said floating and flowing is all about letting go. He was like, if you can't let go, you're never going to stay on top of this. And the emotion that came over me. And when I tell you, when I learned how to float, I learned how to float. Like, I would do it all the time. I do it now. If I get in the pool now, that's the first thing I do is let me float. Because that refreshing feeling of that water on your back and the sun beaming on the top of your body, and knowing that all you have to do is lay there and breathe. All you have to do is lay there and breathe is the most beautiful experience for somebody who didn't experience that until they were in their early 30s. And that's like a huge metaphor for life. When you get to certain places to where your resistance and your control and your pushing and pulling won't do it, you have to be able to let go and release and be like, you know what? I've planted the seeds. I've done the work. I've said the prayers. I'm continuing to say the gratitude prayers. Thank you for this. Thank you for this outcome. Thank you for the problem being solved. And I'm a firm believer in that. I always feel like all prayers should be gratitude, because what else are they? Begging for things? Gratitude. Whether it's your health, you can be in a health situation. Thank you for my healing. Not please heal me. No, thank you for my healing. It is done, you know? And so outside of all of that, you get to the point where your only power is to breathe and let go. You're going to feel like $1,000,000. So much better than the pain and the confusion and the aggravation and the frustration of being on the side of trying to control things that weren't meant for you to control in those particular moments. And the more we let go in those moments where it's time for us to level up, the better the level up is going to be. The better the glow up is going to be. There's not been a moment in my life where I haven't had something that looked like it was like, this is not working out. This is not coming together the way I want it to come together. And I finally let go because I knew that I had to. And I was reminded by whatever mentor I had, whatever YouTube videos I was watching, whatever book I was reading. And what came after that within a year was amazing. There's not been a time where that's not happened. And when you are lucky enough, I'll say blessed enough, to have people in your life that's been witnessing your life with you, that is a beautiful thing. And you've been witnessing their lives, and they can see like, hey, I remember when that thing was not working out for you, or you had been, as a friend of mine that always reminds me, she's like, I remember when you had not been in a relationship for like, 7, 8 years. It was some long period like that because, I was raising my daughters. I didn't care about that kind of stuff very much. So I dated, but it wasn't a relationship. And she was just like, when we got together, we were doing like our wishes. And I was just like, I want to be in a good relationship or whatever. And she was like, within a month, she said, within a month, somebody who was a good fit for you at the time showed up in your life. And I was like, you're absolutely right. And so when you have somebody around who witnesses, like when you finally let something go and then like what blooms from it, you can be reminded of that all the time. Let it go to let it bloom. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day.